Good morning. Uh, Thank you first to NET and ACPI for the invitation. It is a great honor to be here with you today. And for people that are watching, using Zoom, thank you for being here, and people who are here on site too. Well, as Sergio mentioned, my name is Maureen, and I am going to talk a little bit about some models that you can use for integrating technology in the language learning process. So for today's agenda, what we're going to do is to explore some technology integration models and also definitions and concepts. Then we are going to have like some hands-on real-life scenarios so that you can really see how you can integrate technology. And then we're going to have some final reflections so that you can really think about your own teaching practice. So let's start first with, technology is part of our daily lives. We use it every day when we are at home, at work, outdoors, traveling, even when we are sleeping. So what I want you to think is about these three questions that you can see, and then at the end, we come back to them. So the first question is, are you proficient in the use of technology in the learning process? The second question is, are your students proficient in the use of technology in the learning process? And number three is going to be about technology. Is it integrated into the learning process? So let's start thinking about that while we continue with the presentation. So first, as you may know, and also Estado de la Nación mentioned something similar to this, is that several studies provided evidence that, of course, technology is essential in modern learning environments. However, its application in education is still ineffective. So why? Why do you think that that is happening? So, let's go back. When we talk about technology integration, and we're going to start with our first challenge, okay? So people that are here and also at Zoom, you can use the chat. When using only keywords, okay? That's why it's a challenge. So keywords, so maybe people from here that are here on site or using Zoom, maybe you can just start thinking, what do you think it is effective technology integration? So when we talk about effective technology integration, so maybe you can think about some ideas that come to your mind, okay? So from the top of your head, let's go and let's continue with that topic. So when we talk about technology integration, we are talking about the use of technology to enhance and support the educational environment, but also the teacher instruction and the student learning. But guess what? This requires shifting our role as teachers and also the role of technology. Okay, so maybe, I don't know if we have some participation in the chat? Yes, okay, let's listen.
Okay, we have a few participations, friendly, useful, and innovation.
Great, those are great words about technology integration, and those are related to the models that I'm gonna talk to you later. Thank you very much. So, let's talk about why is technology integration important. Of course, today's students, they need to develop 21st century skills, but also teachers, we also need to develop them. So what are those skills? Critical thinking, reasoning, decision making, cross-cultural understanding. If we go back to what Catalina mentioned a few minutes ago, problem solving. So not only our students have to develop those skills, but also us as teachers. So technology promotes higher level or higher order thinking and also prepares students to be a global citizen. And finally, of course, the use of technology can foster student engagement. And that is really important if we really want to motivate our students in the language learning process. Something important that you have to keep in your minds is that students and teachers, They should be actively engaged in the use of technology. Both. They have to be motivated. And also, students, we teachers, we need to remember that students are going to use technology to connect new information to prior knowledge and also actively build new knowledge and experience. And finally, and the most important of all, is that the curriculum drives the use of technology and not vice versa. That means that technology is a tool that we are going to use based on the purpose or the objective of our classes, our program. So it is really important because sometimes I have heard colleagues saying, it's because I don't know about different tools, or I don't know about how to use, I don't know, let's say Padlet, but okay, what for? So always remember that there should be a purpose for doing an activity, or there should be a purpose for using a specific tool. And that is why when we talk about technology integration, it is sometimes kind of tricky or difficult because we focus more on the technology than on the curriculum. And that's why now we have like these different models and that we can use so that we can really see if there is a balance between the curriculum and the technology. Okay, now let's continue with another challenge. So I hope that you are, like getting this, the idea of this presentation so that you can get motivated too. Because for me, this topic is just fascinating. So using an example, so probably you can use it, use the chat at Zoom or here in the room. Using an example, what is effective technology integration? So let's talk about that. And effective integration of technology is achieved when your students are going to be able to use it to help them not only obtain information, but also analyze it, synthesize it, create it, and also to use it naturally during the learning process. So we use the technology as an integral part of how the classroom functions. So that is effective technology integration. I don't know if we have participation?
Yes, one person wrote, I would say when both teachers and students learn.
Oh, of course. As you can see there, it's achieved when your students are able, to use technology to help them, what? Learning. And of course for teachers too. That's great. Thank you very much. Now, we continue with one more challenge, okay? We have 5, so this is the third one, and this is about activating your schema, your prior knowledge. So, have you heard about technology integration models? Yes or no? Have you heard about them? Maybe people here from the room say yes or no, that's it, don't worry. It doesn't matter if you say yes or no. Yes? People say yes? Okay. No? Mm-hmm.
Some people in the chat say, some say no, some say yes.
Oh, that's great. So we're going to just talk a little bit about them because as far as I know, there are around 10 or 12 different models for technology integration. However, for today's presentation, I'm going to focus on 4. And why those 4? Because those are the ones that I really think that are going to be useful in our context, and also because I have used them, so I can tell you from my experience. And those are TPACK, SAMR, RAT, yes, RAT, that's the name, and PICRAT, okay? So that's what we are going to talk about. And this is where we are going to focus our presentation today. So let's see. Let's start with the TPACK. Okay. When we talk about the TPACK, this model identifies 3 primary forms of knowledge. The first one, it's about content knowledge. The second one is about the pedagogical knowledge. And the third one is about the technical knowledge. And you say, what is that? Okay, let me explain to you a little bit more. When we talk about the content knowledge is what you teach, the content, okay? When you talk about the pedagogical knowledge, it's about how the students are going to learn best. So maybe you can think about a different activity, or maybe a methodology, if it is flipped learning, or a project, or a problem solving, etc. And then we have the technical knowledge that is going to be the best technical tool that can be used for achieving your goal. Okay? So we have content, pedagogical, and technological. Okay, what is going to happen? What is important is how these three elements or these three knowledges intersect. Let's see the following picture. As you can see, here we have like three circles, right? We have the content knowledge, the technological knowledge, and the pedagogical knowledge. Okay, let's suppose that you as teachers, you have the content knowledge. That is, let's suppose, simple present. That is content. And then you say that you're going to use a video for teaching that. Okay, so that is technological. So let's say that we have the technological and the content, and that is going to be technological content knowledge, or TCK. I know that there are like so many letters there, but that's the idea. Or let's suppose that you say, okay, simple present, and it is going to be through a presentation. Okay, so we have the content that is simple present, but also we have the pedagogical knowledge that is using a presentation. Okay, so we are going to have the combination, what? PCK. Okay, can you see that? So we are just like like a mixture of the different knowledges. What are we looking for when we are integrating technology? The intersection. We want to have the technological, the pedagogical, and the content. And so I'm going to give you an example so that you can see it. Okay, let's say that we are going to teach about food. That is a very common topic that when we are teaching. Okay, food. Okay, that is content. Okay, let's suppose that for pedagogical, in my case, I think that the best strategy for my students is going to be to develop a project in which they are going to create a recipe collaboratively. Okay? That is the pedagogical. How they are going to learn best about food. And now, let's think about the technology or the tool. Students are going to create a recipe, and they are going to write it down using an infographic in Canva, that you know that Canva, you can work collaboratively. And then they are going to share it. You know, they can, in Canva, they can add a picture of the recipe, or they can also describe it orally, because also Canva, you can, create a video, and then you can include an audio. So here we have what? The intersection. Content, pedagogical, and technological. So this is a very common model that you can use so that you can make sure that you are focusing on the three main aspects, okay? Content, pedagogy, and technology. Okay, this is a very simple example of how to implement it. And probably you have used it, but you weren't familiar about that specific model. Okay, so we continue with our challenge. Number 4, based on what we just talked about, that is the TPACK model, is this technological content or pedagogical knowledge? So I'm going to give you some examples. Let's see, okay. Number 1, knowing how to teach present perfect tense will be an example of what knowledge? Pedagogical, technological, content. So what do you think? I don't know if someone, are they no yet? Okay, let's continue with the next one. Knowing how to use Google Docs will be an example of what kind of knowledge? And yes, and then number 3, knowing how to use Google Docs for writing a paragraph about present perfect collaboratively will be an example of what kind of knowledge? So here we have, and the idea is that we can really see the difference between these 3 knowledges. I don't know if someone has participated in Zoom or?
We have for the second one, somebody mentioned that it was pedagogical. For number 1, content. Another person mentioned for number 1, content, for number 2, pedagogical, and number 3, technical.
Okay. Yes, so number one is about present perfect, that is content, of course. Number two, it is about Google Docs, so it is emphasizing what? The technology, so that is going to be the technological knowledge. But if you see number three, we are saying that we are going to use a Google Doc for writing a paragraph, so writing the paragraph is the how my students are going to learn best, so that is pedagogical, technological, and then we have the collaboratively. So that is going to be the pedagogical, okay? Great. The next one is this one, that is the SAMR model. And this is going to be about, it is more like consider, okay, oops, sorry. Okay, this model can be considered as a planning tool. Okay, it is more considered as a planning tool that can help teachers to design better learning activities for students. And also, it is going to provide relevant input about how to use technology during the learning process. So I want just to give you some ideas about this model because it's a very popular one. And here you can see the model. Okay, the S stands for substitution, then augmentation, modification, and redefinition. Something important is this. Even though the picture is like from S to R, actually is the other way around. We start with substitution, then augmentation, modification, and finally redefinition. So when we talk about this model, the S, substitution, that refers to how technology is going to work as a direct substitute, okay, for, I don't know, pen and paper. There is not a significant change in the activity that you're planning. Then we have augmentation. That means that technology is going to, is going to be a substitute for the, for the pen and paper, but there is like functional improvement, or there is a small improvement. Then we have modification, that is when technology is going to allow us to modify or significant change the task. And then we have the redefinition, and redefinition is when technology allows for the creation of tasks that we didn't think before that it could be possible, okay? So that is like a step-by-step. Substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. And here, I just want to let you know that, as you can see, and I really like that quote from Tereda, because he says that good technology integration is about being aware of the range of options and picking the right strategy or strategies for the lesson at hand. So as you can see, we already talked about the TPACK, and now we are talking about the SAMR, and then we are going to talk about two more. So the idea is that you can explore these models and see which one is going to fit best for your context. So let's talk a little bit more about this model, but I'm going to give you an example so that you can see it. So let's start with substitution. Instead of pen and paper, students use a PDF document. So it is the same. It is a Word, document. Now the format is different, but it's the same, actually. So there is no improvement. We are just using a PDF document instead of a pen and paper there, right? A paper. Augmentation, okay? Let's suppose that now we have the PDF, okay? But I don't know if you're familiar with the website that is like worksheet, that you can create worksheets in which students can, complete the PDF like interactively online. So now my PDF is not going to be a PDF document, but it's going to be a like worksheet. So it is still the same, right? But there is an improvement. Now my students are going to do it online, not, on paper there, or they don't have to print it, whatever. And so there is a functional improvement, a small improvement. And then we have modification. Instead of using the like worksheet, because I think that that is not going to be the best option for my students, they are going to interact using Padlet adding audio, text, pictures, and video. So as you can see, the task was redesigned completely using technology. So there is a large improvement, and that is modification. And finally, we have redefinition. So besides interacting in the Padlet, our students are going to use a video conference tool so that they can, talk to people with people from other institutions, and they can create maybe a website or an app or etc. So the technology is going to be at the students' hands. Okay, that means that students are going to use technology to create something. Okay, they are the ones who are going to create it, not the teacher by itself. So as you can see, we have like this step-by-step process: substitution, augmentation, modification, redefinition. And most of the time, teachers, us, we are between substitution, augmentation, modification. We need to move, to the redefinition stage. And it is important that you also think about how you're using that technology in the language learning process, so that you can see if you are just stuck in substitution, for example. Okay? So this is why it is important that you see, like, okay, am I using just a worksheet? Am I using just a PowerPoint presentation? I'm not saying that that is bad or that is not correct. What I am saying is that you need to reflect on that and think about how you can move on to the next stage. Okay? Now, let's talk about the RAT model. And as I said, yes, that is an interesting name, but if we pay attention to that, it is going to be very similar to the SAMR model, okay? So when we talk about RAT, here we have the R, it means replace. That means that technology replaces traditional material, the same as substitution. Then we have amplify. That is going to be that the activity remains the same, but there are some changes by using technology that is going to increase efficiency, effectiveness, and also productivity. And then we have the T, that it represents transforms, and there is a reinvention regarding instruction, learning activities, and curriculum. So as you can see, it is very similar to the previous one, but we are going to check in a moment the main difference. So let's see how this works. Okay. I have two questions for you. Okay. The first question that I have is, are you using Google Docs instead of a Word document, or are you uploading a PowerPoint in a SlideShare for doing a presentation? If you are saying yes at home or here in the room, it's because you are stuck in replacement, okay? So let's talk about that and let's see how that works. Yes, are people participating? Yes.
Yes, we have people who say yes to both questions.
Exactly, so that means that we are stuck in replacement and we need to move a little bit so that we can go to the next stage of the model. So let's see this with an example, because I really like to use examples so that you can see the difference and how to apply it. So maybe the topic is parts of the house. It's a very common topic that we teach. So replacements. So students are going to check probably a Prezi or a PowerPoint. So at the end, it's the same. Prezi or PowerPoint is for presenting something, content, most of the time. Or they are going to complete a worksheet or a live worksheet. So again, it is the same, okay? It is just a different mean, but it's the same. Or they are going to watch a video on YouTube, or probably you say, no, let's go to Vimeo. So they are going to watch a video using Vimeo, but it's the same. It's a video, okay? So that is replacement. Then we go to amplification. So students are going to check a Prezi, but guess what? The Prezi, it is no longer just for presenting content. It includes a video, probably some interactive activities, some links, some readings, etc. So here we have we have an integration of different tools, and we are using it for different purposes. Okay, so that is amplification. It is the same activity, but we just make a few changes and improvements. And finally, we have transformations. I don't know you, but in my case, when I am teaching this topic, most of the time I asked my students. Okay, guys, let's do, and let's create your dream house. And you're going to do another presentation about your dream house. And they do it, you know, with posters or etc. Now that I'm thinking about this model and how to use it with this topic, I was thinking about how they can create their dream house, but not using just a regular, you know, paper, cardboard paper, etc. They are going to use Minecraft, okay? Because in Minecraft is for free, you know, Minecraft for education, and they can build their house. Or probably they can use our code that is a very simple website that you can use for creating, you know, different objects. Or maybe I want to use a sketch-notching, that is a strategy that you can use. So they can use a sketchboard, that is an app or a tool, and your students can draw, you know, their dream house, and they can add whatever they want, and they can include pictures, they can include many other things. So here, as you can see, it is no longer another presentation, you know, like the ones that we usually use, but in this case, our students are creating, and then, of course, they are presenting. So, but it's going to be different, the way that they share and the way that they do it. And this is transformation, okay? Can we do this transformation without technology? No. And that is the difference, okay? When we go to this stage, we need to use technology. And that is why redefinition and transformation are very similar. So let's go with the difference. As I was saying a few minutes ago, what is the difference between the SAMR and the RAT? Well, actually, the difference, as you can see, is in the middle letters. The SAMR, they talk about augmentation and modification, so they divide it like the improvements, small and large. That's it. But in the RAT, they have amplification, so the A stands for improvements in general, small or large. So that is the main difference between these two models, okay? And now, I'm going to share with you one that I really, really like, and that is the PIC-RAT model. So as you can see, here we have the PIC, and also we have the RAT. We already talked about the RAT, so the idea is that we see this combination. Okay, I really want you to focus on the chart that you have there, okay? When we are going to use this model, this is a student-centered model, and you need to ask yourself these two questions. That is the first step. First, how is the relationship between the students and technology? Is it passive, is it interactive, or is it creative? Also, what is the relationship between you and the technology? It is about replacing the technology, amplifying, or transforming. Okay, based on those responses, you can see if you are really integrating technology in the language learning process. So I'm going to explain to you how this works. Let's go with the next slide. Let's see. Great. Okay, students watch a video. That's it. Students just watch a video in YouTube. Are they doing something with that? No, just watching. So what is the relationship of the students with technology? Passive. Okay, so we go to the bottom where it says passive, the P there. Let's suppose, right, that we are using a video instead of a PowerPoint presentation. So we are replacing. So we are in the PR stage. Okay, we are in the passive replaces. Okay, let's go with the next example. Students write an essay collaboratively using OneDrive or Google Drive, okay? So they are writing an essay collaboratively. Okay, what is the role of the students? Do they have a passive role, an interactive one, or a creative? An interactive one, because they are interacting with the technology. So they are going to be in the interactive, stage. And they are going to use OneDrive, and that depends on how you do it, but let's suppose that for this example, they are using OneDrive to create, storytelling. So that is going to be amplifying, okay? So we are going to be in the interactive amplifying stage. And finally, let's suppose that our students are going to create a website using Weebly, and they are going to share it with people from another school. So in this case, our students are not just, interacting with the tool, but they are creating. So we move to the C, creative, and then they are going to share it with people with different schools through a video conference, through a project, etc. So they are in the T, transforms. So they move to the CT. So as I don't know if you can see this, how this works, but the idea is that when we are planning our classes, we need to see if we are just moving from passive to creative and from replacing to transforming, or if we are just stuck in passive replacing. Okay? Let's suppose that you are analyzing your activities and you say, oh my God, 4 activities that I'm doing, and those 4 activities are passive replacing. Or they are interactive and amplifying, or maybe interactive and replacing. So the idea is that we reflect on our activities and our practices, and we can move, and start moving. Or maybe we can say, no, for this activity in particular, we need to have like a passive role and replacing. Okay, that's okay. But for the next one, I need my students to interact, so you move to the next one. Okay, so the idea of using this chart is that you can see how you are really integrating technology in the language learning process. And that's why I really like it. And just to finish, because I know that probably it is time, here we have some real case scenarios, some hands-on activity, of course, and I want you to just think about these scenarios, and maybe in your houses in this moment or here in the room, you can think about how if this is real technology integration, or how would you do it? So let's suppose that this is the situation. Students write a paragraph describing themselves using Jamboard. Okay, yes, of course, that depends on the model that you are thinking of, but of course you can say, well, yes, they are writing a paragraph, they are using Jamboard, okay, but something probably is missing. Okay, so you have to think about that. Students complete a worksheet in PDF. Students create a blog sharing their ideas about global warming. Students watch a video from YouTube. Students watch a video from YouTube and then interact in a forum. And students check a PowerPoint presentation about common health problems. So these are activities that we probably do in our classes. So we can think about, okay, is this real technology integration or not? Are we doing it or not? What would you do differently? Okay, so these are for you to think, at home and also here, and to think about your own teaching practice. And just to finish, some final reflections about these topics. First, I want to know, I want you to think about these questions for yourself. Are these models that Maureen was explaining a few minutes ago so confusing, so unclear, or difficult, or theoretical? Well, probably. But the idea is that you have to look for the model that fits best for you. And you have to really understand it and to be really engaged with that model. What are your students doing with technology? What are they really doing it? Are they using their cell phone just for communicating? Are they using WhatsApp just for, for a chat? You know that WhatsApp is going to be, for me, it is a great learning environment, but we don't see it like that. Is technology integration really happening in your classes? I know that depends on the context, depends on the resources that you have, that is going to make a difference. But, okay, with the resources that you have, are you really integrating it? What will be your first step in doing it? Okay, so that is also part of this reflection process. So, as Piaget mentions, the goal of education is not to increase the amount of knowledge, but to create the possibilities for a child to invent and discover, and technology and the use of technology in the curriculum is part of it. So thank you very much, and I really appreciate your time.